Now I want to talk a little bit more, now that you've had some experience with arguments, you've created your own arguments, and I'm quite impressed by how some of the arguments that you've created. Now let's have a look at what it is that makes an argument correct. Then specifically we're looking at the concept of validity or a valid argument. And as usual, it's a good idea to start with the simple. So we'll return again to our classic example. There's always one person who comes in a little bit late with their own personal sound. You can make some learnings, it's okay. Okay, so let's go back to our classic argument. Again, the classic argument, simple but useful to talk about logic. In this argument we have the two premises followed by a conclusion. And what we are saying here is that the conclusion, what we wanted to explain, why did Socrates die, follows from the premises. But what do we mean by follows from? We have an intuitive grasp of what it means. We know that somehow these premises necessitate, they force this conclusion, in the sense that if you accept these premises, if you believe these things, then you're committed also to what this says. You're committed to the conclusion. If it's a relationship between the premises and the conclusion, what is that relationship? I would suggest it's a logical relationship between the premises and the conclusion. So, do you have a suggestion?
I was saying that it's an explanatory relationship.
Right, it's an explanatory relationship.
One thing explains the other.
Excellent. Now that is absolutely correct when we're talking about explanatory argument. But I'm using the example of an explanatory argument to talk about a logically correct argument in general. And later on you will discover that not all logically correct arguments are arguments of explanation. Now let me, at this point, suggest, or put on the board, an actual definition of what a valid argument is. Valid, by the way, means...
Something wrong?
No, it means actually that it's correct. But logically correct. So I'll put this definition up and we will explore the character of this definition. Okay. Here is the definition of a valid argument in general. A valid argument is one in which, if the premises were true, then the conclusion must be true. Sure. Yeah. This sounds right. But let's have a look at the meaning of the words. Or it's this kind of special. It's a special kind of definition because it relies on what's known as a hypothetical statement. I will put two sentences on the board and let's see what the difference is between them. And then you'll understand what I mean by saying that it's a little special, a little tricky sometimes, this definition of a valid argument. Okay, two sentences that look similar, but let's have a look at them. I'll read them to you. Number one, your teacher has jumped off the top of the building and is very hurt. Number two, if your teacher were to jump off the top of the building, then he would be very hurt. First, let me know, is this sentence true or false?
False. It seems like a fact.
You're looking at me.
No, it's
Am I
not. It's
hurt?
false.
Right, it's false. Do you agree? Your teacher has jumped off the building, top of the building, and is very hurt.
And something happened.
You think it's false?
It's false.
Yeah, it's false.
Yeah, look at me. Do I look up?
No.
Did you see me jump off? Okay, that's false. Okay, second sentence, I'll read it again. If your teacher were to jump off the top of the building, then he would be very hurt.
True.
Everybody agrees it's true. What makes it different? What makes that false and this true?
The first one, because already happened.
The
It's happened. The first one is already happened. The premises were coming us, it's happened.
no?
But it's not.
Sir, the premises were not true.
We're not talking about premises yet. I'm just exploring the difference between these two types of statement, and then once we understand that, I will apply that back to the definition of a valid argument.
Okay.
But which words in this make the difference? If, yeah,
Were,
were, good,
Has.
Then.
Word.
Then is.
yes.
Then is and has. The first sentence.
two conditions.
Yes, also, can I add?
Then.
Is and has in the first sentence.
Yes. And is very different from then. Okay. Now,
The first one is saying that a true thing happened. It describes basically a fact. The
yes,
second one gives you a place to hypothesize. A
yes,
space to hypothesize.
exactly. Yeah, that's beautifully expressed. A space to hypothesize, because this sentence is a type of, this sentence is a categorical statement, and this
Conditional.
is conditional. Yes. Who said that? Excellent. Yeah. There are two words for it actually. Hypothetical or conditional.
Conditional because if and would, because we are using if and would.
Excellent. I'm glad you brought up a space of hypothesis or hypothetical thinking, because these types of statement are fundamentally important in science and the advance of all knowledge, because, as you suggested, it gives you a space in which you can hypothesize, you can create in your mind a situation that is false, but it will then enable you to explore possibilities. It's reported that Einstein developed his theory of light by imagining that he imagined what would happen if I were to ride on a beam of light. And that hypothetical space, I love that term that you've created there, because I haven't come across quite that term before. I like that. Hypothetical space. Einstein, in that hypothetical space, was able to elaborate and develop one of the most important theories in science. And it's a typical method that scientists use. It's called a thought experiment. So you might call it the laboratory of the mind. You know, this is our tool, a hypothetical statement.